So this is part A of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast only on the internet, timed at 09:10 hours within quote UK or 8:10 hours GMT on Tuesday, the 20th of July 2021. Now we have the Daily Mirror. We're looking for the Daily Mirror now. We just got the headline of the day about Johnson. And that's the Daily Mirror. So Johnson is saying that it's only over 80s who will die. So that doesn't matter. That's what he's saying. How clearer must the evidence be that he is not only unfit, but he's dangerous. He's directly threatening people. This is not some kind of gossip. And then even the Beaverbrook poison, the Daily Express is forced to stage at least one day its headline, and it is forced to confess that Johnson is really dangerous. And the stablemate of the Express, the Daily Scar, again is forced to run this heading on the front page. About Boris Johnson. And the Murdoch scum, what is it cooking up today? The Murdoch scum is in denial, of course. It has got nothing to do with the unfitness and the danger that Boris Johnson embodies and personifies. And the Daily Mail is typically corrupt and deflecting attention by the stupid contradictory headline. Absolutely stupid, not borne out by the evidence. Now, it is a historic front page on The Guardian, London, that it has got any bad headline about India's Narendra Modi. Not only that, it is on the front page. Now, Narendra Modi is the anathema, antithesis, opposite of democracy, transparency, tolerance, all the rest of it. And he has been known to be so for decades. And yet the Guardian has covered up. Guardian has hidden the monstrosity of Narendra Modi. And today it should not be running this main heading on front page. It should be running the front page with both Johnson and Modi's pictures on the front page together. And the daily bribing Boris graph has got the front page picture given to Harry. And it's not admitting that Johnson is openly admitting to having a policy of massacring the over 80s. That is according to the Daily Mirror. And the Mirror is the only one that is running that story. The others are pretending to cover the news about the pandemic and Boris Johnson's deadly agenda. The agenda that has been kind of serially disclosed as admissions by Boris Johnson's colleague and policy colleague, the man who is pretending now to be critical of him, Dominic Cummings. The second significant item of confession that Cummings has caused to be admitted is this one about it's only over 80s who will die. And the other one is, of course, the open boast by Johnson that let the bodies pile high, thousands of bodies pile high. And the I newspaper is still on the bent, it's getting bent rightwards with every edition. And the Financial Crimes is saying the justification for exempting so-called key workers or key sector workers, exempting them from isolation rules. That is, says Johnson. That's the front page, main front page. And the subheading is the alleged justification for the exemption. It says staff shortages spur action reopening day met with caution. Business fears closure. So it's contradictory and dishonest. And the second biggest piece on the front page is kind of deceptive because it says Cameron has been accused. But although the financial crimes is the one that actually broke the so-called Cameron Green Seal lobbying scandal, it hasn't actually followed up that so-called exclusive series. By examining the institutional, organizational, and individual corruption and criminality in every agency of the state in the UK, every part of the state, in parliament, in government, in the courts, in the judiciary, and in the political parties. There was a piece about Brazil in which they're saying that Lula is playing very careful game about his supposed touted kind of return to politics. And the Financial Crimes has got a piece about America's strict COVID border policy alienating Europe. And there is a promotional piece about Joe Biden saying Biden's unconventional climate gambit may be just what his country needs. And there is a piece about China by Gideon Rahman. The heading is Superpower Status is Still Far Off for China. And there is an admission by Sarah O'Connor in the piece headed, on page 23, piece headed, Nostalgia for Manufacturing Won't Bring Better UK Jobs. And the first of the two editorials in today's Financial Crimes says that the UK government is not free of its COVID duty. Now that is absurd and stupid. There is no way, absolutely no way, that the government could conceivably be free of COVID duty. And yet it is saying as if this is a news item. It's not news. Government is non-existent if it doesn't have COVID duty. And the piece about the Freedom Day, so-called, is headed Healthy Dose of Caution. And there is an admission about Johnson's lie about leveling up the North. That leveling up goes at risk, warns Watchdog. Now this is completely misleading because Johnson is only lying. He has neither the intention, nor the conviction, nor the bodha to help the North. Well, the North, meaning north of England. Well, the piece on the front page of the Daily Mirror is direct, and it is being kind of given an appearance of indirect admission by the Times in its two-page spread on pages 8 and 9. It is transferring the directness to the statement that Johnson made to aides, admitting the same thing. And there is a piece on the French attitude towards the bogus travel rules, Britain's bogus travel rules. Remember what the ex-ambassador for France in the UK told the Times, that Boris Johnson was a congenital liar, and that Britain, by letting Brexit happen, as fronted by the congenital liar Johnson, had scuttled it, or scuttled itself. And there is a piece in the Times that the Pegasus investigation into the Israel-based spying device being used by India and other countries to suppress inquisitive and inquiring investigative journalists and critical oppositions. That Tony Blair's wife, Cherie Blair, has links to the spy group. Now, this is not the first time that Blair's wife, Cherie Blair, has been reported to be involved with corrupt, fascistic, repressive regimes and agendas. We said earlier that in the tweets that we have posted so far, that Jonathan Sumption, one of the shameless ex-judges, so-called, of the so-called Supreme Court, is not a moral person. And his record while in office, and his record as can be measured by the jurisprudence concerned, doesn't show him to be moral or ethical while he was in the post. And we have said that David Neuberger, who was this month in 2017, that is July 2017, Neuberger was reported by the London Evening No Standard as endorsing the prospect of a Brexit Britain, especially praising the prospect of London courts, law courts, serving as the prostitutes to settle the corrupt pimping litigation by big-moneyed crooks from far and wide. Now, the idiocy of the then outgoing president of the Supreme Court is not confined to just David Neuberger, nor indeed to Jonathan Sumption. The entirety of the British courts, the judicial bureaucracy, is corrupt, is racist, is callous, and is ignorant, and is opportunistic, and is dishonest. Contrary to the myth created around Brexit by the serial litigation brought to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court by Gina Miller and her quote campaigners. Contrary to the myth they created that the courts were competent and honest forums for honest outcome, remedy against dishonest and corrupt government. The courts are corrupt. Courts are manned and woman by lying, racist members of the judiciary. And there is no evidence that the Labour Party is alive to that. Having politically murdered the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, of course, is not expected to point this out or even to understand it. As a liar himself, Starmer cannot be expected to look for the truth amid the piles and piles and piles of lies, denials, obstruction, racism, hostility, bias that actually dominate the court system. And The Times first editorial of 3 is headed muddling through, that is muddling through 2 words. The other 2 have got 3 words each. So muddling through is subheaded inconsistent decision making risks undermining public confidence in the pandemic response, just as the third wave is accelerating. Now, those whoever are or is responsible for that stupid heading in the editorial is being corrupt, because calling for consistency does not justify Johnson's policy of letting the over 80s die. So where is the opposition to this? There is no mention of the opposition. There is no mention of the opposition to this. There is no mention in the heading, and there is no sign of the outrage that Johnson's policy to let the over 80s die should create. None of the other papers has got any mention of this on the front page, and there is no recognition of any awareness of this dangerous lunacy on Boris Johnson's part. What this shows is that it's all based on what Cummings has said. What this shows is that there is no investigation by the newspapers. So if Cummings had decided not to speak, as he did in May, on the 26th of May, when he appeared before a committee of MPs, the papers wouldn't have published any of it. It is as dire and as deadly corruption as that. And it says Boris Johnson resisted lockdown as COVID cases soared, saying we can't kill the economy just because of people dying over 80. Dominic Cummings has claimed. So it's not just the statement that he made about let thousands of bodies pile. Cummings is also disclosing this one. This is the other detail of Boris Johnson's policy to let people die. And this is not the front page of the Daily Mirror is not accurately reflected in the detail on the inside pages. They use the term shambolic. Mass murder and massacre is not a shambles. It's massacre. And there is an understatement on page 7 of the I newspaper. The I newspaper, as I said earlier in this edition, is going right by the day, by the edition. This is a too small an item. That says the caution urged as the UK heads for biggest COVID wave yet. And there is really none of the papers is actually covering that is reporting the truth. And on page 2 of the Telegraph, which is the daily bribing Boris graph, they've got this lying heading to cover up Boris Johnson's cruelty and criminality. They say that Johnson joked. How can it be a joke? Get COVID and live longer. They are saying it's a joke. Whereas both the Times and the Daily Mirror accurately report at least the fact, not the details, that Johnson says it's only over 80s. And it doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Now, the Guardian's coverage of the Pegasus investigation, Pegasus project, attack on democracy, furious reaction to spying revelations, has got a 2-page spread on pages 2 and 3, in which the Guardian absolutely corruptly and stupidly elevates the Nehru family's Rahul Nehru. So the Pegasus details are detailed on the actually 9 pages of the Guardian. So when is the Guardian going to publish the details of Johnson's massacre, the over 80s policy? The Guardian has got an admission on page 16 where it says, I feel so angry. Here in the wards, that is hospital wards, it is clear that the pandemic is far from over. So this is based on an eyewitness, unnamed doctor who is working in the hospital. And there is an admission that the German government, fronted by Angela Merkel, failed to do anything about noticing the oncoming floods or doing anything to stop them. Now, that is only a tip of the iceberg, or tip of the nightmare of floods overwhelming the planet. And the only purpose that Dominic Raab seems to be in post to serve is the occasional headlines written at the expense of China. That's it. It is not really supporting the victims of Chinese oppression. And the scum, Murdoch scum, so far it waits until page 9 where this Dominic Cummings is reported in a very small item. Ousted Dom. Now that deflates his image to begin with in the heading. Ousted Dom, PM let COVID kill Brits. As if those Brits killed were somewhere abroad. And they got a heading condemning Keir Starmer. Now we know that Keir Starmer is a liar, that he is an agent of the Conservatives, that he is in cahoots with the enemies of the many. So we have no sympathy whatsoever for Keir Starmer. But that's not what the scum is doing, calling him clueless Keir in the editorial, Sun says. Because they're using Keir Starmer as an excuse, as a deflection of the attention from the clueless massacre supporter, Boris Johnson. Because they're saying that Jonathan Ashworth, who is the opposition spokesperson, is to blame for the disaster. So, moving on to Oxford, Oriel College, Oxford, and the African origin woman who has been overhyped in The Guardian as the first person of such background and a woman to be a professor, appointed professor at a British university. Now, Oriel College is the one where the racist Cecil Rhodes is the person after whose racist imperialism the country, now Zimbabwe, was named Rhodesia. So she's saying she is the latest appointee, black woman, African origin black woman. She may have been born in this country, but she is of African origin. She might be of mixed parentage. And that is something that we shall check and update on, but at least she is half African origin, if not full African origin. Now, it is not a coincidence that only a week after she was kind of paraded in the racist media as the first black woman professor, she is criticizing those who are campaigning to bring down Cecil Rhodes' statue at the college, Oriel College. This is not a coincidence. And this does nothing to enhance our objectively verifiable credibility as a professor. And what she is doing, she is actually being absolutely dishonest. She is paying back Oriel College for appointing her professor. Now the question is, why did that college decide to appoint her in the first place at all? The answer is not a mystery. Because the protest was gaining ground for the bringing down of the statue of Cecil Rhodes, the racists in charge of the college needed a desperate way out of the deadlock. And what better way out than an African origin black woman appointed professor of the same college? And she's paying more than what they expected. She's paying back. I believe that she will be exposed, and I believe that she is wrong to say that the demand for bringing down the statues is a sign of Western privilege. How dare she talk about Western privilege? She is a professor now at a Western privileged post university. And all these papers are obsessed with the hairy book. Now, here is the headline of the day. If Cummings is saying that he warned Johnson that he could spread the infection, the virus, to Brenda. And he says that he, Cummings, stopped Boris Johnson from going to see Brenda as Corona ripped through number 10. And Cummings reveals WhatsApp messages where Johnson said no lockdown, only over 80s are dying. And this is a piece based on a promotion by the Daily Mail of Laura Kunzberg. And here is a racist promotion for the racists in this country by a so-called campaigner, ex-policeman, who has been given the headline, "This obsession with hate crime makes me despair of the police." I'll read again. "This obsession with hate crime makes me despair of the police force I was proud to serve." And there is nothing in there in the Daily Mail today really about Boris Johnson. I mean, their editorial is not talking about Boris Johnson. In fact, so the Johnson is being quoted by Cummings as saying in the WhatsApp message that Cummings says he made the statement on or in, "I must say I have been slightly rocked by some of the data on COVID fatalities, that is, COVID deaths. The median age is 82, 81 for men, 85 for women. That is above life expectancy. So get COVID and live longer." This doesn't come across as a joke. And he's admitting that there are maximum number of over 80s is 3 million. And admitting that there are 3 million people aged 80 plus, he's saying that let them die. So we shall be continuing in the next editions.